Okay, let's get started with this week's weekly roundup on Access Arts Live of live streams of orchestral works that we have for you. I will do another live stream a little later for the chamber music and the recitals, but there's so much of both, we can't fit them all into the comment sections when we do the live stream. So I want to make sure that when you view each live stream, you can just look at the description of the live stream video thereafter and click and go. We do all the work, all the research. So all you have to do is follow us, subscribe to us on YouTube or on Facebook, and then you'll get everything. And all you have to do is read what we send you and see what you like, click and go. It's that easy. So let's start out with the first live stream that we have for you this week. I'm so excited because two of my favorite orchestras are live streaming, and one of them is the Stockholm Royal Symphony. This Thursday, German conductor Ruth Reinhardt and Norwegian cellist Amalie Stahlheim are teaming up to bring you a great concert from the Blue Concert Hall in Stockholm with the Royal Stockholm Phil. It's a concert which includes Czech masters and also a Polish master who was a foremost woman composer from Poland of the 20th century. Let me start with the Czech masters first, of course. They'll be doing Smetana's The Moldau, okay? Da-dum, da-da-da-dee, da-da-dee-dee-dee, ba-dum. We all heard that at university if we hadn't heard it before from our parents. And the interesting thing is the program notes, the Swedish program notes tell us that this is the tune from an old Swedish folk song called Ach Värmeland du Sköne, which means, Värmeland, which is a region of Sweden, the beautiful. And Smetana was a conductor working in Göteborg, or called Gothenburg, on the west coast of Sweden in the 1850s, before he wrote this piece. So the question is it possible that consciously or unconsciously he picked up the melody from this Swedish folk tune, which he heard in Göteborg? Or is it simply that the Czechs had the same folk tune as the Swedes did? And that can't be excluded either. In any event, that's a little extra note that you get since I happen to spend half my time in Stockholm. Okay, they'll play that. And then in the second half of the program, they'll be doing Dvorak's Symphony No. 7, which is not the New World Symphony, which is his best known, but it's a symphony which many music aficionados consider his best. In between the two, Norwegian-Swedish cellist Amalie Stahlheim will be performing the Polish composer Grażyna Bacewicz's Cello Concerto No. 1. Now, more and more people are playing or discovering Bacewicz. The Harmony Orchestra in Seattle this past Saturday, we told you about it in our information that we put out. They live streamed Bacewicz's Overture, which was written in 1943. It's a very joyful, upbeat piece written while the Nazis were slaughtering Poles and Jews right and left, or left and right all over her country. And Ruth Reinhardt is no stranger to Bacewicz either. The conductor, she conducted Bacewicz's Concerto for String Orchestra with the Frankfurt Radio Symphony back 4 years ago. So this should be good, you know. Two highly talented women playing a woman's cello concerto you haven't heard before. And I'm going to try to make sure that we may send an extra snip of this part of the live stream to some of the groups that we're aware of, which specialize in women in classical music. Amalie Stahlheim herself is I have a picture of her for you. Let me put that up for you. Let me. This is her. I mean, she's intense. Okay, she's an award-winning cellist. She's played with all the Nordic orchestras. You don't get the picture on Instagram because you don't integrate with our platform. She's played with the symphonies in Oslo, in Bergen, in Stockholm, in Iceland. She's played with the radio orchestras in those countries. She's been noticed outside of Sweden. She was declared a BBC Music Magazine Rising Star in 2021, and at the Verbier Festival long ago in 2015, she won the Firmenich Prize. So, and she's also one of these younger musicians who are so terrific, who not only play music, but they commission music for their instrument that they want to play. I mean, I just think that's terrific. Now, the conductor, here's the conductor, okay, Ruth Reinhardt, and she's currently working with the Royal Swedish Opera on a production of La Traviata, Verdi's opera, for the spring of this year, which explains her being around. She's also a Dudamel. She was also a Dudamel Fellow with the Los Angeles Phil. And there are these great up-and-coming conductors who have done similar. I keep running across them, and she's played with she's conducted all the major U.S. orchestras, the New York Phil, the San Francisco, Detroit, Houston, Seattle. She studied at Juilliard and got her master's there, studying under none other than Alan Gilbert, who formerly was the conductor at the Stockholm Phil. And he's now with the Elbphilharmonie and still doing terrific things down there. So that should be a great concert, particularly if you're interested in talented women. So let's move on now. Now on Thursday, the Kennedy Center Millenium stage will be live streaming soloists from the Washington National Opera Orchestra. We don't know what the repertoire is, but usually whatever they are live streaming on the Millenium stage is high quality. They had a couple live streams on the weekend. They had Matchbox Percussion doing a terrific concert. I couldn't turn it off, and I had other things to do. Okay, then on Saturday, the next piece we have up for you is the Berlin Philharmonic and its German Romantic composers, being conducted by Marek Janowski. And Marek Janowski is like, well, he's known as like the main man in Europe. Well, there he is. He's been conducting since the 1970s, and he's known as the main man when it comes to the German Romantic repertoire or the French repertoire. He has, for a while, he's with the Dresden Phil, but he hasn't always been with it. He's taken time out to do things like join up with the French radio orchestra and turn it from nothing into, like, the best orchestra in the country, which I'm not sure it can still claim that, but at the time it could. And he's conducted all the leading American orchestras and also been a regular guest conductor at opera houses as well. Now, they'll be doing, so you can look forward to seeing him conduct Anton Bruckner's Symphony No. 7 in E major. How could anyone do it better? But then they will also do, to open the program, Mendelssohn's Concerto for Violin and Orchestra in E minor, Opus 464, with Augustin Hadelich on the violin. So let me give you a picture of who I'm talking about here, Augustin Hadelich. There's the man there. Now, Augustin Hadelich happens to be the artist in residence at the Dresden Phil this year. So there you see the connection between Hadelich and Janowski. If you want an idea of of who Hadelich really is, okay. Let me tell you what he did this summer. Well, this summer, he did the Hollywood Bowl with the Los Angeles Phil. Then he did Tanglewood with the Boston Symphony. He did the Bravo Vale Festival with the New York Phil. He did the Ravinia Festival with the Chicago Symphony. This guy plays everywhere with everybody. And if I gave you the list of all the orchestras he played for, we'd be here all day. So I'm not going to do that. Okay, let's move on to what we wind up with, which now that is not free of charge. Let me remind you, that one is at the same time as the Stockholm Phil, which is the standard time in Germany and Nordic countries. It's a little early. 7 o'clock in the evening in Europe, 1 o'clock in your Saturday afternoon on the East Coast, and 10 in the morning on the West Coast. And it will cost you €9.90 or 11 euros US dollars for a weekly subscription, so you can watch it. Okay, then we move on to later in the evening at a much better times for the Americans at 8 o'clock on the East Coast, 5 o'clock on the West Coast, 2 in the morning in Europe, and 10 in the morning, Sunday morning in Australia. the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, one of my favorites, a groundbreaker in live streaming their performances for the last decade. They claim they've had 2 million viewers in the last decade. I don't know that that's true, but they probably had more than anybody else because they've been live streaming longer and more often than anybody else. Now, this is another teaming up, but it's a couple of guys this time. It's Wayne Marshall, who was a celebrated conductor, organist, and pianist, so celebrated he actually received the Order of the British Empire from Queen Elizabeth while she was still with us a couple years ago. Of course, the conductor is the inimitable guy that I really love, Yehter Bignamini, whom I think is one of the two best conductors in the United States, from what I can tell from live streaming. His competition, and perhaps a little better conductor at this point in their respective careers is of course Gustavo Dudamel at the LA Phil, who is now going to be taking over the New York Phil. Anyway, they'll be doing and Bignamini, last May he brought in the rock star violinist Nemanja Radulovic from Eastern Europe, and it just rocked. It was fireworks. And then last week he brought in Branford Marsalis, and I mean, that was a great concert. So this promises to be a great concert too. Now, mostly they're doing music which is inspired by Shakespeare. They're doing dances from Leonard Bernstein's West Side Story. They're doing Tchaikovsky's Romeo and Juliet Fantasy Overture. They're doing ballet music from Verdi's Macbeth. And they're doing music from Samuel Coleridge Taylor's Othello. But in addition to that, then Wayne Marshall is the soloist, and they're going to do Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. I'm not sure what that has to do with Shakespeare, but I don't care, because I think it's going to be a pretty great concert, because Wayne Marshall knows how to play the keyboards, whether it's an organ. He inaugurated the organ at the Walt Disney Concert Hall back in 2004 in Los Angeles. But anyway, that's him, and that's that duo. So I think that's terrific. I think we've shown you a lineup of some really terrific performances. And I want to mention a couple other things, not because they're like the big guns of orchestral works, but they're presented by big guns when it comes to live streaming. The New Zealand Symphony Orchestra, and they both involve emerging artists. The New Zealand Symphony Orchestra will be live streaming an emerging artist concert on Tuesday at 7 p.m. New Zealand time. We'll give you the rest of the times there. It's you have to have that one's free of charge. Ordinarily, the New Zealand Symphony Orchestra requires that you be a subscriber, but that one I think is free in charge. And then Opera Vision, which does a lot of opera live streaming, but no opera this week, they'll be live streaming the Neue Stimmen 2024 opera singing finals. That's on Thursday. So Tuesday at 7 o'clock European time. So Tuesday and Thursday, you have chances for emerging artists in both orchestral and operatic areas. That's what we have for you today. Let me remind you again, we invite you to repost all of our posts to other people you know who love the performing arts, so that the tens of millions of people who love the performing arts can start gathering together in real time around these live streams. That's our mission, and that's my vision of where this can go, because tens of millions of people tune in to view viral videos on YouTube and on TikTok of ballet and of chamber music and of piano recitals. There's no reason why they can't tune in to these kind of high quality live streams. I'll be back in just a bit, probably in about 15 minutes, with another live stream, which will be all about the chamber music and smaller size work, which we have been able to find for you. And, somebody just left me a message on LinkedIn, a LinkedIn user, but I don't know who it was. It says, "Salut, John, your passion is wunderbar." Yeah, it's kind of a combination of French and Swedish. I wonder which French-Swedish friend that's from. Anyway, ciao for now, but I'll be back in just a little while. And if you're if you're like on X, or on Instagram, and you don't immediately have all the dates, times, and links in the comment section, don't worry, they are coming. You will have them before the evening is out, but there's always a little delay getting those to you.